Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna musluna qati fitnatallahum fartaqibhum wastabir. Unabbihum anna al-maha qismatun baynahum wa kullu shirbin muhtazar. فنادوا صاحبهم فتعاطى فأكر فكيف كان عذابي ونذر وما أرسلنا عليهم سيئة واحدة كلمهم بالبصر فكيف ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر صدق الله العلي العظيم. 9th class lecture number 27, and my topic today is fluid mosaic model. Fluid mosaic model is the model which explains the structure of cell membrane. The structure of cell membrane will be explained by the model fluid mosaic model. So what is that model? Why this model is necessary to understand, to study the structure of cell membrane? That will be our topic today. Actually, cell membrane, which is also called plasma membrane, is different from the cell wall. The difference between the cell wall and the cell membrane is that cell wall is the dead structure and cell membrane is a living structure. Sir, you was talking that in the last lecture that sclerenchyma is dead, parenchyma is living. So what was that? Those were the cells. Those were the plant type of the plant cell. Sclerenchyma plant cell, parenchyma plant cell. Sclerenchyma dead due to presence of secondary cell wall, and secondary cell wall was not present in the parenchyma. So that never means that I am talking about cell wall is living, parenchyma is living, cell is living. Cell wall is not a living structure. Even the primary cell wall, either the secondary cell wall, the both cell walls, either primary cell wall, the secondary cell walls, the both are the dead structures. And cell membrane is the living structure. This is the major difference between the cell wall and the cell membrane. And cell membrane actually door of the house means cell. It will allow some molecules to enter into the cell, and it will not allow all molecules to pass through it. It's the check and balance. This fluid mosaic nature of the cell membrane, this natural quality of the fluid mosaic model, which explain fluid mosaic model, mean that some qualities of the cell membrane, these are the some qualities of the cell membrane which will maintain the living nature of cell membrane, and cell membrane will allow some molecules to pass through it, and it will stop some molecules to enter into cell. It is just because of fluid mosaic model. Now you understand. When I was teaching you cell wall, I was talking about the composition of the cell wall. I was talking about the pores present in the cell wall. Those pores were called as a plasmodesmata, and those pores were allowing the molecules to move from the one cell to another. In this case, the fluid mosaic model. So here in the cell membrane, fluid mosaic model, arrangement of the organic molecules in the cell membrane. I am adding one word, arrangement of the organic molecules in the cell membrane. That is the fluid mosaic model. I have to explain. Two organic molecules. I am adding slowly and slowly some data more. Two organic molecules. One organic molecule will be lipid. Other organic molecule will be protein. So two molecules which are present in the cell membrane, their arrangement will be explained by the fluid mosaic model. So you can see the lipid layer here, the lipid bilayer. So two type of main structures which are found in the cell membrane. One is a lipid, one is a protein, and the lipid has two layers. Lipid has the two layers, and these lipids which have the two layer called bilayers. This lipid bilayer means lipid has the two layers. Now go back to another thing which is present in the cell membrane, that is the protein molecule. Two molecules which are present in the cell membrane, that is the lipid and the protein. Now you understand the point. So by lipid nature and the protein molecules nature, that will make the protein structure, that will make the cell membrane structure, which will allow some particles to move into the cell, and which will disrupt some particles which will not be able to enter into the cell. So this stoppage of the molecules which is not going to the cell due to just nature, due to the fluid mosaic model. So I go back to the plasmodesmata, which was the opening between the cell wall. Plasmodesmata are actually the openings between the primary and the secondary cell wall, and they are going to allow the movement of the molecules from the one cell to another. If cell membrane compared with the cell wall will not allow the molecules to enter into cell, and there is no any type of blockage from the cell wall. Anything can enter into cell wall, anything can come out of the cell wall. The reason is that because cell wall is the dead structure, there is no any semi permeability nature. So semi permeability nature of the cell membrane depends upon the fluid mosaic model, which is not present in the cell membrane. So two major differences you got. The one difference which you got, that cell wall is composed of the cellulose, and cell wall is composed of the cellulose. The primary cell wall composed of the cellulose, and the secondary cell wall, it is composed of the lignin. Primary cell wall composed of cellulose, secondary cell wall composed of the lignin. And what will happening, the protein and the lipids are the parts which are present in the cell membrane. So I am comparing side by side both things together. Cell wall composed of cellulose and lignin, cell membrane composed of these two organic molecules, proteins and lipids. It is becoming easier. Yes, of course you are confused, sir. What is fluid mosaic model? Fluid mosaic model mean that how these two molecules are arranged, how these two molecules are arranged in the cell, how the protein and the lipid molecules are arranged. Look at this figure. This figure will explain the arrangement of the protein and the lipid. The two major organic molecules, two major structures which are found in the cell membrane, those were the protein and the lipid. So these two structures which are found in the cell membrane, that were the protein and the lipids. You see yellow color, that is the protein, that is the protein structure. This is the protein, this is the protein, and you see the red balls. Okay, you are watching these red balls, and these are the structures. These are the lipid layers. These are the lipid layers. So lipid layers are two lipid layers. This is lipid layer number 1 from here to here. This is lipid layer number 1. This is the lipid layer number 2. Lipid layer number 1, lipid layer number 2. So bilipid layer, they have the bilipid layer, two lipid layers present in the cell membrane. So protein, now you are getting idea what is the fluid mosaic model. Two major organic molecules, which is the protein and the lipids, how they are arranged, their arrangement. So why this arrangement of lipid and protein is necessary in the cell membrane? The reason is that because the cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. Cell wall is not semi-permeable wall. Why the cell wall is not semi-permeable wall? Because cell wall is the dead structure. Why cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane? It will allow some molecules to enter into the cell. It will not allow some molecules to enter into the cell because nature, because due to arrangement of the lipid and the protein. This yellow color protein, it may be transport protein, it may be channel protein. In senior classes I will tell you the difference between transport protein and the channel protein. At your level I would like to explain you that it is the door of the cell. Just like yellow is one door, and this is also one door, and molecules in the center will enter, and this is the space between these two doors, mean protein, and it will go, the protein molecules will enter into the cell through this doors, and some molecules will be allowed to enter into the cell and some molecules will not be allowed to enter into the cell. Reason is once again because some molecules are required by the cell, some molecules are not required by the cell. Different type of chemical reactions takes place in the cell. Cell is a living structure. It will not allow some molecules to enter into the cell. So cell membrane is a security guard of the cell. It is prohibiting some molecules to enter into the cell, which will damage the cell, which will damage the metabolic activities of the cell, which are not required in the chemical reactions in the cell. So these two layers, this layer, bilipid layer. So now I have to explain the fluid mosaic model. What is a fluid mosaic model? That model tells this structure of protein. You are watching this structure of the protein. This is a structure of the protein. Clear? This all structure of the protein is arranged according to the fluid mosaic model. Yani one by one point is followed by the fluid mosaic model. I will tell you the first point which was followed. You can see that these two layers, one layer, this is the one layer, clear, and this is the another layer. Here in the diagram he is labeling continuous Actually these are two layers. Look here, look at my green line. This is the green line, one layer. Now look at the chocolate color, second line. So this is the one layer, this is the another layer. So bilipid layers. These bilipid layers which are present in such a fashion that they are continuous. There is no any gap in this layer. You can see this lipid layer. Is there any gap? No, there is no any gap. Is there any gap? There is no any gap. Is there any space? There is no space. Once again, you can see yourself. There is any space between them? No, there is no space. So molecules. But if you see the yellow color protein, this is the yellow color protein, there is the gap. Where is the gap? This is the gap. So in this gap, the molecules can enter very easily. So gap will decide, that gap is situated between the protein molecules. And also, if you see the protein, the next protein, it will be in the patches. In the patches mean in the gaps. Yellow color is not present. Next one mean there is no yellow color here. There is no protein. So protein layers are not continuous. The point I told you, arrangement by fluid mosaic model. The first point you can write in your copy, point by point. You will be able to understand very quickly concept. Protein layers is discontinuous. Look here, protein is discontinuous. This is a one protein, door, this is another protein. There is a gap between the two protein, and this protein is not continuous, and there is a gap between one protein door and another protein door. Another protein door is not mentioned in the figure. I can make here, this is another protein, look here. So gap is there, one protein here and another protein is in the yellow color here. So protein is not continuous. But if you see the lipid layer, that is continuous. Look here, that is almost continuous. Even in the protein layers, where the protein layers are present, the protein layer is present here, the lipid layer is continuous. So protein layer is a continuous. Lipid consists of two layers. Lipid is a bilayer. So point by point you are understanding. Lipid layer is the bilipid layer. It consists of the two layers, and the cell protein act as doors of the cell, just like your door of the house. You can see these two doors, between them the gaps are present. These gaps just like a door. This is one door, door number one, door number two. So protein acting as a door. Such protein which acting as a door, they may be called as a transport molecule, they may be called as a carrier protein molecule, because I told you that the protein is divided in the cell membrane into the two types. One is a transport molecule, one is a carrier protein molecule, and these transport molecules, carrier protein molecules, will allow the molecules to enter into the cell, So protein is discontinuous. We conclude it. Protein is discontinuous, and the lipid layer is a continuous. What will happen? Two type of the molecules which can enter into the cell. Now you will listen my point very carefully, because this is the basically arrangement of the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane is due to because of following reason which I am telling you now. Two type of the molecules, one are the polar molecule, one are the non-polar molecules. Polar molecules have the positive and the negative charge. The non-polar molecules have no partial positive, partial negative charge. Definition of polar molecule, once again, the molecules which have partial plus, partial negative, or plus negative charge present, such molecules are polar molecules, you know that. And the molecules which have no plus negative charge mean there is no electronegative atom, and they are just like the same power of attracting the electron. I am not going into detail. So there is no charge, plus charge, minus charge. Those molecules are non-polar molecules. So one type of the molecules are called as a polar molecule, and one type of the molecule is called as a non-polar molecule. Now polar molecules will enter through this door, mean between the protein. You understand? Fluid mosaic model, arranging that, managing the entrance of the molecule into the cell. This molecule will enter. The molecule will enter through this way. Which molecule? Polar molecule. Polar molecule will go by this way. What is the definition of the polar molecule? The molecule with the polar charge, which is having the positive charge, the negative charge. Such molecules are called as a polar molecule. And the non-polar molecule, which are without plus and without negative charge, they will enter through this way. Yes, and the protein molecule will enter through this way. Why these polar molecules can enter through this way? Because protein composed of amino acid, I was telling you, in case of peptidoglycan, in case of bacterial cell wall, the bacterial cell wall composed of peptidoglycan mean peptide, and glycan mean protein, and carbohydrate and protein composed. You know, I told protein composed of amino acid in peptidoglycan. So protein composed of amino acids, small molecules, amino acids combine to form the protein molecule. So if this is protein, yes, of course this is a protein, and it composed of small molecule. How the protein is formed? By the combination of small molecules. What is the name of the small molecule? Amino acid is the name of the small molecule. How these molecules will combine? They will combine by help of enzymes. Enzymes will facilitate the combination of amino acids. Amino acids will combine to form the protein, and water will be released, and the process will be called as a condensational polymerization. Condensational polymerization. I am going to define this reaction again and again, so don't worry about that. I am going to tell you protein, the protein. So this is the protein. This is the protein, and it will allow the polar molecule to enter. Non-polar molecule will enter through the lipid layer, bilipid layer. Why, sir? Why it is called fluid mosaic model? This is a very good question. Why it is called fluid? Fluid means liquid. Why this is called fluid mosaic model? You still want to understand the definition of the fluid mosaic model? I know that. Arrangement of protein and the lipid in the cell membrane, and you are arranging in such a way that which I am telling you mean that protein is discontinuous and the lipid is continuous, and lipid is a bilipid layer, and between the protein there is a door. Between the protein there is a door and the molecules can enter. This is called as the fluid mosaic model. So you understand the meaning of the fluid mosaic model. And fluid mosaic model, if you see that the fluid which you are watching here, the fluid which you can see here, you can see this one, the fluid will allow only, where is the fluid present? Yes, this is the question mark. I will tell you, just hold on. I am just identifying you in which color? Blue color. Okay ji. You can see the white color here. White color visible to you? Dear students, tell me white color in these lines visible to you. These all structure is bilipid layer. Do you agree with me? Okay. This white mean this white is fluid. This white is fluid mean liquid present in the bilipid layer. In the bilipid layer fluid is present. Why the fluid is present? When fluid will be present, the molecule will enter into the cell. Sir, molecules can enter into the cell by the protein very easily. So why the molecules are entering through these fluid which is present in the bilipid layer? Reason is that non-polar molecule will go through this way and polar molecule will go by this way. Now you are understanding the logic of presence of fluid in the bilipid layer. The polar molecule, the polarity, the polar molecules will go by this way, and the non-polar molecules will go by this way. Mean because fluid is present. Because lipid normally non-polar, you can say to some extent that they consist of charge, but they will not allow the molecules polar to enter. Like dissolves like. Polar can dissolve polar molecule, yeah, charged particles can attract the charged particles, and the non-polar molecule without charged particles will attract the non-polar molecules without the charged particles. So what will happen? The molecules which are present here through the bilipid layer, they are unable to enter here, and they are unable to enter to the protein. The non-polar molecule enter by this way. Non-polar molecules will enter through this way, non-polar molecule by this way, and polar molecules by this way. And fluid will help in the transport of the non-polar molecules. So all points were according to fluid mosaic model. Some extra structures are present. These are extra structures. These are not much important, but they are very important in first year and second year. because they are integral part of immunity system. Glycoprotein, glycolipid, they are conjugated molecule. Why? Because I told you what is the conjugated molecule. You can define the conjugated molecule. When two organic molecules will combine, that molecule is called as a conjugated molecule. Don't worry, I will revise the structure of cell membrane because that is very important. But you got the idea. Lipid is continuous, protein is discontinuous. Polar goes by protein, non-polar goes by lipid. Fluid present in the bilipid layer, and the model is fluid mosaic model. Don't worry about the cholesterol because these are some additional molecules present, and they are basically involved in cell recognition. Means cell will be identified which type of cell that is. So okay ji, cell membrane fluid mosaic model was today's topic. I hope you will remember this one, and I will keep discussing these things in the upcoming lectures. Lecture number 27. Allah Hafiz.